guys, this is Jeff with Reference Analog. So it's been a little bit since I've, talked about the room acoustics. Last time I showed you guys the room, we had just kind of gotten it done and got it starting to sound good, and I was kind of excited about it. And so I showed you what we'd accomplished so far. Now the room acoustics are done. We've gotten in all the parts that we're supposed to get in, and it's completed. So anyway, I will show you a brief little roundup of the room, and then we'll kind of go through what all I tested, once I got it, because I put it all in and then wanted to make sure that there was no, nothing in the room that I could take out and make things better. Because I wanted to see what the full Vicoustic treatment system would look like, right? So, sent off for the evaluation of the room and got that back with, all the results of what all, they wanted me to put in. And so I did the full thing. I do this with customers too, as far as Smidoff Forum and stuff like that. And, I always suggest Vicoustic, and I've used all their stuff in the past, but I wanted to really see what 100% of the offering that they put together creates. So I took out individual panels one by one in every placement that there is a panel, just to see what it changed and what it did. And so I can kind of go through some of that too. But let's look at the room. All right, so this is the front wall of the space. So these are the panels that we were kind of waiting on for quite a while. These are their copper, metallic copper color. And so we were waiting on them from there and for that section of them and that section of them. We kind of had in some of their white, like styrofoam type ones there for a while, and they worked excellent. I mean, we were getting fantastic sound, with the white diffusers, but regardless, these are the correct ones now. So anyway, we'll kind of take a brief walk around. So when I had the styrofoam ones here, I had these turned around to where they were, they had their kind of diffusion side up. And the styrofoam ones are a little bit less lively. And so these are a little bit more lively than those were. And so when I installed these, I decided to go ahead and test out turning these. And so I found that I didn't need the added liveliness of the diffusion side of this. And so I rotated them to the more absorptive side, and obviously these are the totem based traps. Anyway, and then as we come around, we've got the sidewall panels here. And this area is kind of the first reflection point for the speakers. So they basically kind of put together everywhere that's kind of a first reflection is diffusion, and then the front wall is diffusion, and then the ceiling is diffusion. Now the ceiling ones technically should probably be about where that light is. So, they're a little farther back than I think they necessarily wanted them, but you do what you can. The door in this room is, it's a solid core door with a sound isolation skirt that automatically drops down when you close it. So anyway, it works pretty well. The back wall here, and don't mind the extra chair there. I had a few extra people in the other day, and that chair was mine. So anyway, the back wall is similar to the side walls. Directly behind their head is a little bit of a more scattering and absorptive, material, whereas these are mostly absorption. And then these are kind of diffusion, but then on the sides of them, let me go to this one over here. On the sides of them, you'll see that it's actually kind of soft, and so it's hard to see in it. There we go. So you can see the sides are actually more absorptive while the front is, hard. Um, so moving around the room, similar thing here, and, first reflection kind of idea. Anyway, that's kind of the room. The ceiling, we've got diffusion up front, absorption kind of in the middle. And this one was technically supposed to be the same as this one, but I kind of like the added liveliness that we got here in this position. And I feel like it helps kind of create a better height and element and all that kind of stuff to the sound. So that's basically the room. And as you can see, we've got a few feet behind the listening chair here. It doesn't, the video camera is kind of hard to capture how much space is there, but I would say between your head, which is actually here, you end up with a good like 3 feet back there. Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of the room. So if we go over what changes I made to kind of find the different sound, I would say when I took these off, the speaker stopped disappearing quite as much. So instead of it being like here in the sound, it moved forward and here in the sound. And so I put them back and it went, back where it was supposed to be. That kind of was the element for most things, So when I took off like these on the sidewalls on both sides, so I took them off and those off. The sound got livelier, but it was less enjoyable, if that makes sense. It was kind of like there was an edge to it that didn't belong there, at least after getting used to that panel being there. I've already kind of stated it, but when I changed these out from the styrofoam one to the wood ones, my liveliness increased. And so that's the only thing I was kind of hoping to gain, in those becoming like the hardwood type, is that I would gain a little touch of bite, to the sound. And I'm kind of one of those that like when Louis Armstrong hits a high note, I want it to be a high note, and so that bite should be there and I want it there. So that kind of helps create the realism in the presentation too. So anyway, the totems are crazy because they rotate, and let me show you the rotation of one just so you can see kind of what it does here. So the totems can turn, and so that becomes more diffusive, and this side is a little bit more absorptive, but there's still bass traps. At the end of the day, they still do their job in that realm, but they just kind of change the upper end on like how you have them placed. So it's definitely, it's fun to play with them because they completely change the sound, based on how you rotate them. And so anyway, they're pretty fun. And like I said, in previous stuff, I had this one, which is about the height of the mid range. I had that one basically rotated. And, once I got the liveliness from this and from like that first reflection where it was just, less absorption and more just diffusion, I went ahead and rotated those back around. So, anyway, that's about it. Hope you guys enjoyed the tour of the finalized room. So, thanks, guys.